Chapter 1. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. My system awakened everyone, be more conscious and maintain order. If I see anyone cutting the line, I'll throw them out. The teacher in charge of the test said to them with a glare. Hearing such serious words, everyone queued up seriously. No one dared to cause trouble at this moment. Ling Feng was also standing quietly in the group. His eyes were fixed on the white jade in front of him. The students before him placed their hands on the jade under the teacher's guidance, and a dazzling light rose from it. Qin Dashan. Innate ability. Physical enhancement. Rank. C. Wan Qinghe. Innate ability. Fire manipulation, rank. D. The teacher looked at the words that rose from the jade and read them out loud. These voices entered the ears of every student. They understood that the teacher was talking about their ability type and rank. This also represented their future cultivation path. All the students had different expressions on their faces. Those with ecstatic expressions must have good abilities, while those with complicated or bitter expressions must not have good abilities. There was another person in the crowd who was out of place with these people who were nervously waiting for his ability level. He looked a little dazed, as if he was out of touch with the world. His name was Ling Feng. It had been 2 days since he transmigrated here. During these 2 days, he had been trying his best to digest the original owner's memories. To be honest, from a bystander's point of view, his background was extremely pathetic. He had been abandoned by his biological parents since he was young and grew up in an orphanage. He almost had no friends by his side, so he was a recluse. 2 days ago, something happened to the original owner, and he had somehow transmigrated and possessed this body. He inherited the original owner's memories and naturally knew that this world was completely different from his previous world. This was not Earth, but a supernatural world called Blue Star. 1,000 years ago, an unknown alien race invaded this planet. The entire solar system was attacked by a huge storm, and the blue star they were on became thousands of times larger. In order to survive better, many creatures began to evolve. Most of them had grasped countless supernatural powers, and after hundreds of years of development, every citizen here could communicate with the awakened divine jade at the age of 18 and unlock their ability. This was a world where combat strength was divided into levels. There were a total of 9 levels of combat strength. In fact, legend said that there were levels above level 9, but that was the domain of a god. For the time being, it was not something they could come into contact with. Abilities also coexisted with combat strength. Abilities were also divided into 9 levels. The lowest was F. rank, and the highest was SSS. rank. Humans had to use meditation to increase their combat power and work hard to increase their levels. After all, level 1 was trash, and level 9 was the most powerful. At the same time, it was the level everyone yearned for. With different ability ranks, cultivation speed was naturally different. The difference in cultivation speed between SSS. rank and F. rank was like heaven and earth. That was why the students had such strong reactions after their abilities were assessed by the jade. After all, this completely determined their future development. Although the difference in ability might seem cruel and even unfair, humans had to rely on these abilities to continue reproducing and surviving in this dimension, obtaining a territory. Ling Feng, what are you daydreaming about? Hurry up and come over. The person in front had already completed the test. Now that Ling Feng was the first, the grumpy teacher in charge of the test immediately shouted. Just do as I say and put your hand on the divine jade. Don't let your thoughts run wild. Seeing Ling Feng come back to his senses, the male teacher immediately instructed. Ling Feng nodded and immediately placed his hand on the divine jade. The jade was very white and extremely cold to the touch. However, the moment his palm touched it, it began to slowly heat up. Was this the divine jade used to test one's ability? It was extremely special. Before Ling Feng could carefully feel the heat coming from his palm, he suddenly felt a change in his surroundings. A dazzling white light suddenly appeared in front of him. Before he could see the white light clearly, the male teacher had already opened his mouth to chase him away. "The test is done. Remove your hand." Ling Feng nodded and did as he was told. The moment his palm separated from the divine jade, words immediately appeared on the divine jade. Was his ability about to be revealed? Ling Feng. Innate ability. Clone. Rank. B. So his ability was clone. However, it was only B. Rank. Although it was not the worst, it still disappointed him. "Thank you, sir." No matter how his teacher treated them, Ling Feng still maintained his manners. "You can leave after the test. There are still many students behind. Don't be in their way." It was a B. Rank talent. The teacher's expression eased up, but he was still as irritable. Ling Feng nodded and immediately retreated to the side. The teacher had already called the next student. "Next, you can come over." Since he was done with his business, Ling Feng naturally had no intention of staying. As soon as he walked out, he heard excited voices behind him. Su Ranran. Innate ability. Thunder. Rank. SS. As soon as she said this, the scene instantly exploded. Everyone's gaze fell on the cold woman. At this moment, she seemed to be the center of the world. Their gazes were filled with admiration, flattery, and envy. Even the usually irritable teacher was filled with joy. It was actually an SS level talent. He was in charge of testing so many students, and this was the first. "Oh my God, it's actually an SS. Rank ability. She's the first person in our batch to have that rank. Not only is she talented, but she also seems to be our school belle. Not only is she beautiful and talented, but she's also too enviable. It seems that our school hunk's ability is only at A. Rank. Doesn't that mean that he's not compatible with the school belle? When has the school belle and the school hunk ever been compatible? The school belle is much better. She's like the bright moon in the sky. How can that crappy school hunk compare to her?" The atmosphere was abuzz with murmuring. The teacher, who had been extremely irritable from the beginning, nodded in satisfaction. In all his years in the field, this was the first time he had come across an SS. Level student. Moreover, she was in his class. How could he not be proud? Not only that, but the person who taught the SS talent would also receive an absolute bonus. That high bonus was now treasure in his eyes. "Be quiet. Su Ranran, go down first. I'll look for you after I help them test their abilities. Next, get ready." Su Ranran, an SS. Level awakened, had undoubtedly dropped a huge bomb on the scene, causing many people to become excited. To be able to produce an SS. Rank ability, did that mean that the people behind them might also have an SS. Rank ability? Everyone immediately became excited and quickly went up to test their ability. However, everyone was disappointed. The students behind were not very talented. The highest ability was only B. Rank. Ling Feng originally wanted to leave, but the commotion caused by Su Ranran was too big, so he had no choice but to stop. It was actually an SS. Rank ability. Looking at his B. Rank ability, it was really unbelievable. Su Ranran was now the center of attention. Everyone who stepped forward was full of admiration and envy. Her face was indifferent as she continued to be the Ice Queen she was called. Ling Feng was incomparably envious. That was an SS. Rank talent. With such talent, he would definitely be able to enter one of the top 10 famous schools. In the future, as long as he cultivated diligently and did not die, he would definitely be an expert. However, looking at himself, he only had a B. Level ability. No matter how hard he worked, he could at most be a primary school teacher. In fact, a B. Rank ability was not weak, but when a talent with an SS.rank talent appeared, there was no comparison at all. They had only just awakened, and their abilities were not even at level 1. Moreover, his ability was cloning. Even if he could release a clone, what was the use of a clone that could only inherit 10% of his combat strength? As Ling Feng thought about this, he became more and more depressed. Just as he felt that life was becoming more and more hopeless, a cold mechanical voice suddenly rang in his mind. Ding! Unlimited upgrade system binding successful. Innate ability clone detected. Binding successful. Ling Feng stood rooted to the ground in a daze for a moment before his face revealed a look of ecstasy. He now had a system that every transmigrator should have. The system only arrived after it was almost the 3rd day since his transmigration. If he had system, why was his ability rank so low? Ding! The first time you bind to the system, you can receive a beginner's gift box. Do you want to receive it? Yes. Ling Feng answered without hesitation. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a chance to upgrade your ability. Do you want to upgrade your ability clone? Upon hearing this, Ling Feng was overjoyed. It was great, but he still had to think it through and not be rash. How could one ability upgrade be enough? System, how can I rank up further? The host can obtain upgrade points after killing an enemy. When A+ ability appears on the panel, the ability can be upgraded. After confirming that there was still a chance for his ability to be upgraded in future, Ling Feng immediately said, "Upgrade my ability, clone." Ding! Upgrade successful. Chapter 2. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. You created your own level to lie, system. Ding! Congratulations to the host for upgrading clone to B.rank. You can now create 2 clones at once. The clones can inherit 50% of the host's combat strength. Hearing the system's words, Ling Feng was dumbfounded. He immediately asked, "System, there's no such thing as B in this world. Are you sure you're not wrong?" Host, this is the level that the system has customized for you. Your current ability is too low. Only the extremely divided ranks can allow you to better increase your strength. Are you sure you're not trying to fool me? Ling Feng felt like he was about to explode from anger. Didn't they say that the system of transmigrators was very powerful? Why did his system start to trick people on the first try? The system completely ignored Ling Feng, who was about to explode from anger, and insisted that it was for his own good. Not only did the system create B+ ranks for you, but it also created A+, S+, SS+, SSS+, SSSS+. These are the ranks that the system has created so you can have better combat power. As long as you reach the level that the system has subdivided, you will be half a level higher than the awakened ones of the same level. With such a combat level, those of the same level will definitely not be able to beat you. After hearing the system's explanation, Ling Feng nodded his head in satisfaction. It seemed that he had wrongly blamed the system. Indeed, if it was just a major realm, those of the same level of strength were about equal, but if one's battle prowess was half a level higher than theirs, there were many opportunities to catch the other party by surprise. Since the system is bound to the host, it will naturally do everything for its benefit. It will never deceive the host. I know. This is the first time we've met, so don't you understand? Ling Feng immediately found an excuse for his actions. This was his first time meeting the system, and he had yet to fully understand it. Who asked him to create a level that didn't exist in this world? He was so much like a liar. Host, the system is doing this for your own good. The system said again, but Ling Feng was not in the mood to discuss it with the system. Because the Ice Beauty was walking towards him, he immediately closed the system. If it were just a minute ago, he would have been full of envy when he saw Su Ranran. But now, he no longer felt any envy for her. So what if she had an SS.rank ability? His future achievements were also fixed, but he had the golden finger of the system. His ability could be upgraded infinitely, which meant his future achievements were limitless. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, Su Ranran's eyes met his. "Why do you keep staring at me? You're the only one who has awakened an SS.rank ability." "I'm just a little envious," Ling Feng said. What he said earlier was right, but he no longer felt envious. Su Ranran nodded. After all, she had already seen too many envious gazes today. When Ling Feng said that he was envious of her, she naturally took it seriously. She looked at Ling Feng seriously and finally remembered a saying. She then said, "In this world, there are no useless abilities, only useless people. It's considered a low-rank ability, but through hard work, it can transform into a high-rank ability." This was something that everyone knew, but at the same time, it was something nobody thought was possible. This was because the possibility of one's ability to turn the tide was too small. When one's combat strength broke through, one's ability could undergo a certain degree of transformation. However, some failed to break through even with ability. Hence, how could one say that their ability would change during the transformation? Yeah, you're right," Ling Feng replied perfunctorily. Even though Su Ranran was an ice queen in the eyes of the public, only Ling Feng knew that this woman was a master of positive energy. Not only did she like positive energy, but she also especially liked positive energy from classic examples. In front of him, she was still a pro who likened herself to a teacher. He had heard this sort of positivity before and naturally knew how to deal with it. He knew she thought she was a good teacher, so he agreed with her a lot. He did not deny her and gave her affirmation every time. "You like to be a teacher, don't you? Let's see how long you can lecture me." As this happened more and more often, their relationship slowly became more harmonious. They no longer quarreled as frequently as before. However, Ling Feng had to deal with another problem. Later on, not only did her habit of being a teacher not decrease, but it also became even more addictive. Not only did she educate him verbally, but she even got physical. Ling Feng couldn't argue with her, nor could he beat her. Seeing that Su Ranran was about to lecture him again, Ling Feng quickly said, "Congratulations on awakening an SS.rank ability, but I have something to do now, so I'll leave first." "Where are you going in such a hurry?" "Let's go to the Mystic Realm and see our strength." "Oh, alright." Hearing that Ling Feng was in a hurry to leave for the Mystic Realm, Su Ranran did not stop him. After they had awakened their innate ability, there were not many people left in the class. They had all gone to the realm for training. After all, the students who had just awakened their abilities were like children with new toys. Everyone was extremely excited, wishing they could immediately teleport into the Mystic Realm to face the monsters there. They wanted to study how to play with this toy. Ling Feng strode out of the classroom and walked along the stone road toward the school's Mystic Realm building. This predecessor was an orphan and had an unsociable personality. Even if this cold beauty was a teacher in front of him, they were acquaintances at best. Other than meeting in class, they had never met each other in private. They could be considered ordinary friends, or perhaps closer, but Ling Feng should not be concerned about them now. He had to go to the Mystic Realm building immediately. Very quickly, Ling Feng arrived at the darkest building in the academy. The building in front of him had a total of 3 floors and looked extremely majestic. Moreover, the black building constantly reflected a dazzling light, making it difficult for people to approach it easily. Ling Feng didn't spend too much time studying the building's appearance. He walked straight to the entrance of the Mystic Realm building and showed his student card on the machine. Test subject: Ling Feng. Let him in. The Mystic Realms were all products of the previous invasion of the various realms. Due to the collision of different races when they invaded the Blue Star, many spatial energies fused, forming countless independent spaces of different sizes in various worlds. Those were the Mystic Realms he had mentioned. The 3 high schools of the fantasy city that he was in also had a Mystic Realm specially allocated for teaching. Students who had just awakened their abilities could come here to train. The Mystic Realm building had a total of 3 floors. The first floor was naturally the entrance to the Mystic Realm, while the second and third floors were the offices of the Mystic Realm's managers. It was actually very simple to enter the Mystic Realm for experience training. There was no need to trouble the staff at all. One only needed to place their student card on the jade in the hall on the first floor. In terms of technology, Ling Feng felt that it was at least 100 years more advanced than before he had transmigrated. Ling Feng scanned his student card on the jade, and immediately, a mechanical sound rang out from the hall on the first floor. Student Ling Feng, from now on, you have half an hour to train in the Mystic Realm. Once the time is up, please leave the Mystic Realm as soon as possible. You mustn't stay as you might affect the other students' training. Although the technology of this era was extremely advanced, it was not enough to deal with those powerful things. Therefore, ability and combat power were the most important in this world. Ling Feng nodded. He would definitely abide by these rules. After confirming the things to take note of, the entrance of the Mystic Realm opened automatically, and Ling Feng walked in with big steps. After he passed through a ball of purple light, the scene in front of him immediately changed. So this is the legendary mystical realm. As far as he could see, it was a desolate place. There was no sun or moon, only a gray sky. Bones were everywhere on the ground, broken and gloomy. The scene in front of them was a mystic realm of the undead. As expected of the Academy's mystical realm. A monster of this level can definitely help everyone test out their innate abilities. Staring at the undead creature that appeared in front of him, Ling Feng immediately began to use his innate ability. Clone. It was not complicated to use an ability. As long as its ability was awakened, it would be as natural as blinking. They could use it however they wanted, and it was completely convenient. After he used it, 2 white lights immediately flashed in front of him, then dissipated very quickly. 2 figures that looked exactly like Ling Feng appeared. That was his clone. Let's go. Ling Feng looked at his clone and immediately gave an order, pointing to the skeleton monster not far away. When the clone first heard Ling Feng's order, his reaction was obviously a little sluggish. However, they immediately reacted, picked up the bones on the ground, and rushed over. It was the first time that he had summoned his clones. They did not have any fancy postures, and their movements were clean and neat. They picked up the bone sticks and hit the heads of the little skeleton monsters. Clunk. Clunk. A crisp sound was heard. The little skeleton monster was angry after being beaten up. It wanted to fight back, but then another crisp sound was heard. It was another clone who was attacking with a bone stick. The combined attack of the 2 clones was not something that the little skeleton could withstand alone. Ling Feng only heard the series of bangs. Very quickly, he saw the little skeleton monster in front of him. Its bones were scattered on the ground, and its soul fire was also extinguished. You have successfully killed a skeleton monster. Upgrade points +1. The system resounded in his ears. Ling Feng's eyes lit up, and he immediately controlled his clone to the other skeleton monsters. This gave him level up points, so he had to hurry up and kill those things. Continue. Ling Feng immediately ordered. The clone heard Ling Feng's words and quickly rushed over. Apart from 100% obedience to Ling Feng's orders, they had no other human emotions. Therefore, in their world, they did not know about death, and naturally, they did not fear it. This was undoubtedly the best tool in Ling Feng's hands. You have successfully killed a skeleton monster. Upgrade points +1. You have successfully killed a skeleton monster. Upgrade points +1. Under Ling Feng's control, skeleton monsters were continuously killed, and the system's announcement continued to ring. Ling Feng was becoming more and more familiar with the command of his clones. This mystic realm wasn't very big. It was no bigger than a football field, but it was filled with countless corpses, and the air was filled with a putrid odor. He didn't want to stay in such a place for too long, so when Ling Feng figured out how to use his ability, he frantically gave orders to his clones, wanting to obtain upgrade points as soon as possible and then leave this place. However, it would be too slow to give orders one by one. It would be great if there were a way to solve this problem quickly. Just as Ling Feng was thinking about this, an idea suddenly flashed through his mind. He immediately gave the order to his clones to attack freely. You have successfully killed 2 skeleton monsters. Upgrade points +2. Hearing the system's announcement, Ling Feng's eyes lit up. If he let them attack freely, they would attack 2 skeletons at once. This was much more efficient than him ordering them around one by one. After he was free to attack, he stood where he was and rested. Meanwhile, the system's notifications kept ringing in his mind. You have successfully killed 3 skeleton monsters. Upgrade points +3. You have successfully killed 3 skeleton monsters. Upgrade points +2. You have successfully killed 3 skeleton monsters. Upgrade points +2. Chapter 3. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Flashy clones, a great team. Up. Although listening to the system's announcement was satisfying, he couldn't just stand there and do nothing. It was too boring. His upgrade points kept increasing. It was time to rank up, right? System, please increase my abilities rank. The host doesn't have enough upgrade points at the moment, so you can't upgrade your ability. How much more? You're still 8,931 monsters away from upgrading your ability. Ling Feng nodded in understanding. After all, ability was such an important thing. It was normal to need more points. What about the combat strength? You can upgrade it, but because you don't have enough upgrade points at the moment, the combat strength you can upgrade is limited, and you can't break through. What do you mean? Can't break through? It's just that there's no way to break through to tier 0, but I can be a little higher than tier 0 and strengthen my combat power. Alright, let's upgrade it. This was better than nothing. Ding! After consuming 200 upgrade points, the host's strength has increased to intermediate tier 0. After hearing the system's words, Ling Feng immediately felt it. Indeed, he felt that his abilities had increased. He muttered to himself, it seems to be twice as strong as before. However, what the hell was the intermediate stage? System, you've divided the levels again. The combat strength is divided into 3 stages, beginner, intermediate, and advanced. This is to allow the host to grow better. Alright. Since you've already done it, what can I do? Ling Feng was speechless, but he had no choice. He could already feel that his strength was starting to grow. Although his rationality told him that he was still a very weak person, the increase in his strength always made his self-confidence swell a little. He felt that his entire body was filled with strength, as if he could shatter this world with a single punch. However, that was impossible. The reason why he had such a feeling was completely due to his first experience of increasing his strength. After understanding this point, Ling Feng felt the boiling power in his blood decreasing a little. That boundless confidence began to slowly fade away, allowing him to gradually return to a kind of calmness. He looked at the clone in front of him, who was still fighting according to his free command, and a wild thought appeared in his mind. If there was a day in the future when he could raise his talent and combat power to a powerful level, he could summon countless clones with a wave of his hand. One person was an entire army. When the time came, as long as he wanted to, he could be everywhere. As long as he gave the order, he could summon tens of thousands of clones. The scene of them charging toward the enemy without fear of danger was just a simple fantasy, but it boiled blood. At that time, he alone would be the nightmare of 10,000 people. Under a fire.it.will command, the clone had already killed most of the monsters around it. There were not many monsters around now. If the clone wanted to continue killing, it would have to search the surroundings. It's time to change locations. It wasn't just their school that had an undead mystic realm. On this planet, almost every school had an undead mystic realm. Because this was a special existence, even if the skeleton monsters were dead, as long as the mystic realm's energy was still present and given enough time, they could be quickly bred. This was a highly efficient and recyclable resource. Therefore, Ling Feng didn't show any mercy when commanding his clone. He quickly moved to another location while controlling his clone. As long as there were monsters, he would charge at them. Kids, show me your full strength, and let me increase my combat power again. Following Ling Feng's orders, the clone carried the bone stick and charged forward continuously. Ling Feng hid behind him seriously, waving flags and shouting. Charge! 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 The more the clone killed, the more ferocious he became. The system's voice kept ringing in his mind. His clone was in front, charging with a bone club, while he hid behind, waving flags and shouting. The clone was as brave as ever, and the system's notifications rang in his ears from time to time. You have successfully killed a skeleton monster. Upgrade points +1. You have successfully killed a skeleton monster. Upgrade points +3. You have successfully killed a skeleton monster. Upgrade points +2. You have successfully killed a skeleton monster. Upgrade points +2. In such a high-intensity atmosphere of killing, Ling Feng also discovered that with the improvement of his strength, the clones were more flexible than before. Not only was the speed of killing monsters faster and faster, but even the cooperation gradually became more tacit. The first clone took the lead, and the second clone immediately followed. The first clone defended, and the second attacked, and the opportunity presented itself. Their combo was like that of twin brothers. With such cooperation, monsters in the new place where Ling Feng came from were all killed in less than 5 minutes. Ling Feng's eyes lit up, and he immediately brought his clone to the next place. Very quickly, the time for the Mystic Realm training was almost used up. Ling Feng had already been here for 26 minutes, and he was only 4 minutes away from the 30 minutes he had been instructed. Little ones, hurry up. We'll be able to leave after killing a little more. Ling Feng's mood was extremely good. Just as he was about to turn around, he did not expect an accident to happen. Not far away from him, a silver-white skeleton that seemed to be the height of a small building was dragging a big rusty sword. He didn't seem fast, but the aura he exuded made people's hearts tighten. This is the boss-level monster of the undead mystic realm, the silver-tier skeleton warrior. He knew that there was such a powerful boss in the undead mystic realm, but it wouldn't appear easily. Could it be that he had killed too many monsters since he came in, and this one was alerted? A target with unknown attributes has been detected. Do you wish to spend 1 upgrade point to view the target's attributes? The system's voice quickly sounded, and Ling Feng immediately said, System, you're still thinking of collecting money. Host, checking the target's attributes will cost the system. Do you want to pay with upgrade points, or do you want to give up? I'll pay. Ding. Level point 1. Following the system's notification, data immediately appeared in Ling Feng's mind. Silver Skeleton Warrior, Combat Strength. Advanced Tier 0, Skills. Swing, Energy Slash, there's so little information. Host, this is the lowest level Mystic Realm. Even the boss of a Mystic Realm can't be that powerful. For a comparison, you can check your own information. It might be less. So you think I'm weak? Host, I don't think you're weak. You are weak. Ling Feng was speechless. This system was simply there to make things difficult for him. Ling Feng stopped his conversation with the system and looked at the silver skeleton warrior sharply. Although advanced tier 0 monsters are stronger than me, I have clones, so I should still have an advantage in numbers. After seeing the situation clearly, Ling Feng immediately commanded his clone to attack Silver Skeleton Warrior. The 2 clones had been training with Ling Feng in the Mystic Realm for 26 minutes and were now very experienced. Not only that, but they had also exchanged the bone sticks they had picked up at the beginning for 2 rusty bone knives. At Ling Feng's command, the first clone was the first to attack. He quickly dashed before the monster, raised his bone knife, and slashed down. The silver skeleton warrior was not to be trifled with. When the first clone rushed over, it raised the weapon in its hand and slashed at the first clone. Meanwhile, the second clone seized the opportunity to slash at the monster's thigh while the first clone was fighting with the silver skeleton warrior. Roar! The silver skeleton warrior roared in pain. The first clone took the opportunity and slashed at the same spot as the second. With a crack, the silver skeleton warrior seemed to have lost its balance. It swayed a few times and became a little sluggish. The second clone jumped up from the back of the silver skeleton warrior and targeted its head, while the first clone continued to attack the place where it had been. The places where the 2 clones attacked had cracks of different degrees. Ling Feng could see the soul fire in the body of the silver skeleton warrior from afar. Amazing cooperation. Ling Feng couldn't help but praise from the side. This clone was too awesome. The battle was not over yet. The 2 clones had a tacit understanding and attacked crazily, directly shattering the bones of the silver skeleton warrior. The soul fire that Ling Feng had just seen through the broken bones also gradually showed signs of extinguishing. Decisive in killing and excellent cooperation. My clone is too powerful. When the silver skeleton warrior ignored Ling Feng's clone for the first time, it was already at a disadvantage. Now, even if it was still breathing, it was just an arrow at the end of its flight. Sure enough, in less than a minute, the soul fire of the silver skeleton warrior was extinguished, and it was dead. Congratulations on killing a silver skeleton warrior. You have gained 30 evolution points. The system mechanically reported the situation, but Ling Feng's eyes were attracted to the place where the monster died. There seemed to be a light flashing there. He immediately walked over to check on the situation. When he saw the thing on the ground, he was overjoyed and immediately picked it up. It's a skill crystal. The skill crystal, as the name suggested, was a stone that allowed one to learn a skill directly. Although there was a chance of obtaining such an item while killing monsters, the chances were extremely low. It was a rare item. He had not expected his luck to be so good. As long as he absorbed the skill crystal, he would instantly learn a new skill. I wonder which skill of the skeleton warrior is this. Ling Feng muttered to himself as he clutched the skill crystal. Absorb and check. Ling Feng held the skill crystal in his palm and absorbed it seriously. Suddenly, a stream of information flowed into his mind. Skill. Energy slash. Isn't this a stroke of luck? I'm lacking in skills now, and this energy slash is much better than my normal slash attack, which can barely cut anything. Ling Feng was very excited at this moment and had forgotten about his clones. With a thought, he raised his arm, and gradually, a quarter of the energy in his body began to condense in his palm. After about a second, a blade-shaped slash appeared in his palm and was spinning. Go! He waved his arm forward. A 15 cm long slash immediately flew out of Ling Feng's palm and broke through the air. The sound of wind breaking could be heard all around, and that attack only stopped after flying 10 meters forward. Bang! Bang! The energy slash followed Ling Feng's direction and directly left a 1-meter deep hole in the ground. It exploded in the distance. There seemed to be a stone blocking it, which caused his skill to explode 10 meters away, leaving a meter-deep hole. If it weren't for that rock blocking, perhaps it could have gone even further. Chapter 4. You are listening at novelfull.audio. My desk mate who loves positive energy. 30 minutes passed quickly. Ling Feng didn't dare to stay any longer. He immediately recalled his clone and headed to the entrance of the Mystic Realm. He placed his student card on the Mystic Realm's Divine Stone, and the intelligent management system of the Mystic Realm immediately appeared. 30 minutes have passed. Open the gate to the mystic realm. I will leave immediately. The realm management system sounded, and then a door of light appeared in front of Ling Feng. He stepped forward and left the mystic realm, appearing on the first floor of the mystic realm building. There were already other people gathered on the first floor of the mystic realm building. Not long after Ling Feng came out, other people also came out. Damn it, not only did I not kill a single monster, I almost died inside just now. It is. Wasn't this some new student training section? Why is the difficulty so high? Fellow student, I'll give you a serious warning here. Those who want to go to the primeval forest realm, please pay attention. The poisonous insects and fierce beasts inside are simply impossible to guard against. It's fatal. Let's all go there to gain experience. It'll be very gentle, and you might even get a full body massage. I'm afraid you'll be chopped into minced meat, as you said. On the first floor of the hall, there were people who had just come out of the mystic realm. Some of them were happy, while others were sad. There were very few people who could stay there for half an hour. If it weren't for the novice protection period, most of them would have been dead. However, there were also powerful students with high talent levels. Not only did they stay in the realm for half an hour, but they even began to kill indiscriminately. After they came out, they were full of pride and even crazily boasted about their experience. Naturally, there were also many people like Ling Feng who chose to leave quietly and completely become invisible. But no matter what, after this experience in the mystic realm, everyone knew the importance of talent. In the past, even if poor students did not do well, they would just hold their papers and cry. But now, it was completely different. Those with poor talent might even lose their lives. There was also another type of people who were very loud, but they were often the best in their exams and had the best experience. Ling Feng hated those scheming B***cheese the most and didn't want to hear their voices. He strode out in frustration. Just as he was about to walk out of the door, a cute-looking plump man quickly approached Ling Feng, ignoring the voices of those people. "Student, can we have a chat?" Hearing this, Ling Feng stopped in his tracks, but he felt a little strange. The original owner of this body was a very introverted person. Other than Su Ranran and the teacher, this was probably the first person who had spoken to him. "Student, did you pick up a skill crystal from the secret dungeon?" "Yes." Ling Feng nodded but then said, "But I've already used it. F***ck. That's worth 100,000 yuan. You actually used it up." Now, Ling Feng roughly understood that he was here to buy skill crystals. However, these things were extremely rare, and even if he stayed here for a full month, he might not even come across one. Wasn't this a pure waste of time? If you really want it, you can go to the black market. It's much better than the academy. The plump guy quickly adjusted his mood and continued with a smile, "Fellow student, with the way you're dressed, I'm sure you're from a poor family, right?" Ling Feng didn't care much about his family's financial situation, so he had never thought of avoiding it in front of others. After the fatty asked, he nodded his head and answered. "What do you think? If you become my follower, I will give you 4,000 star coins a month." Under normal circumstances, 4,000 star coins was a month's salary for a salaryman. To be able to make such a request, the fat guy showed his sincerity and wealth. But no matter what, Ling Feng was a time traveler. He had worked so hard to travel to this world and even had the golden finger of the system. In the end, he was only a subordinate that received that meager monthly salary. Wouldn't the great time travelers laugh at him? "I'm sorry. I don't know how to work for others." Seeing Ling Feng's confidence, the guy was not surprised at all. They were all people who had just awakened their talents, it was normal to be a little arrogant. He smiled, not at all embarrassed about being rejected. "It's okay if you don't want to. I'll give you a business card. If you want to work in the future, come to me. My door is definitely open for you." Also, if you find any skill crystals, you can consider selling them to me. I'll give you an absolutely fair price. The fat guy chuckled as he took out his name card and handed it to Ling Feng. With such skilled speech and actions, it was obvious that this was not the first time he had done something like this. However, Ling Feng did not mind. He took the name card and glanced at it casually. Other than the name and phone number, there was no other information. Keeping the business card, Ling Feng said goodbye and left. He did not want to waste any more time. Quite a number of students witnessed the scene just now and were now discussing it everywhere. This damn fatso, he's starting to recruit followers again. Though he's a piece of trash who awakened a trashy talent, he has a good father who's a bit wealthy. If you guys had a father like him, you guys would be like him too. Who wants to become like him? He's just a piece of trash who has only awakened his D.rank talent, hair proliferation. If not for his father's support, he would probably be selling wigs. Ha ha ha. You're right, how can hair be used in a battle? You're smart enough to know that there's a way to sell fake hair. The surrounding people laughed at him, which made Li Tian jump in anger. All of you, shut up. After he finished speaking, he turned around and left. Beside him was the follower he had called over earlier. He stared fiercely at the few students who were the most enthusiastic in their conversation. These lackeys had been carefully selected by Li Tian. Not only were they talented, but they were also very good looking. Their aura shocked the surrounding students, and they subconsciously lowered their voices. There were also many people who had already shut up. Follow me, Li Tian walked out as he called for his followers. Ling Feng had just returned to the classroom when he was spotted by Su Ranran. She immediately walked up to him and asked curiously, "Which mystic realm did you enter?" "The undead realm. Didn't they say that that was the realm that had the worst smell? Quickly tell me if it's true." Hearing that it was the mystic realm of the undead, Su Ranran immediately became interested and quickly asked. "It's really unpleasant. I don't want to smell it a second time." Speaking of the undead mystic realm's taste, even Ling Feng, who was a loner, couldn't help but complain. "Then when I go, I'll definitely avoid it," Su Ranran said. "Actually, there's no need. With your talent level, it's the same no matter where you go. The bosses there can't beat you." Su Ranran smiled. "You can't put it that way. Although my talent level is high, a genius who hasn't grown up is not a real genius." It was as if Ling Feng's words had turned on Su Ranran's positive energy again. After saying this, she immediately went back to being a teacher. "Let me tell you, you have to be careful when dealing with people. In this world, there is always someone better than you. No matter what your talent level is, it's always prudent to be more careful. Although I'm more talented than you, I'm also in more danger than you. You just need to believe in your own strength and keep moving forward. Maybe you can develop better than me." Su Ranran even made a cheering gesture as she spoke. Putting everything else aside, just from the way she spoke with such high morale, Ling Feng felt that she was really suited to be a teacher. If there were such a bright teacher, there wouldn't be so many students with low self-esteem in this world. After all, in Su Ranran's eyes, this world was incomparably pure. There seemed to be no darkness at all. No matter what the situation was, she could always find words that could inspire people. However, that was for others. For Ling Feng, it was completely like the wind passing by his ear. For an SS.rank talent to say to a B.rank talent that you can surpass me as long as you work hard, isn't that as pure as a dream? Although he felt this way in his heart, on the surface, Ling Feng still nodded very seriously, trying his best to maintain his image. "You're right. As long as I believe in myself, I'll definitely succeed." Hearing this, Su Ranran was very pleased. She patted Ling Feng's shoulder and said, "Let's work hard together. We can witness the future of the world together. We'll annihilate demons from the other world and suppress the gods. We'll give the blue star a bright future. The more Su Ranran spoke, the more excited she became. Her delicate and lovely face was filled with a high fighting spirit. Ling Feng could only nod his head repeatedly under her gaze. You're right. It's like this. Su Ranran, who had received Ling Feng's support, had no intention of stopping. She continued talking non-stop, and the more she talked, the more energetic she became. She looked as if she was going to talk for 3 days and 3 nights. This time, her soul was like that of a teacher's. She seemed to be starting to break through. It was as if, from this moment on, she could become a motivational speaker. In the past, she only taught others, encouraged others, and created goals for them. But now, it was not just others. Ever since she awakened her talent, she had actually encouraged herself. She was particularly energetic when she yelled, "The future will be glorious." At this moment, a slightly irritable face appeared outside the door. Su Ranran, come out for a moment. Su Ranran heard her form teacher's voice and immediately stopped the topic at hand. She turned to Ling Feng and said seriously, "You must do your best." After that, she hopped out of the classroom and followed the grumpy teacher out. Chapter 5. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. The difference in talent writing. As soon as the bell rang, students from every corner of the campus rushed to their classes. Su Ranran, who had just left with her form teacher, had also returned. As her desk mate, he naturally had to show some concern when she was suddenly called away by the form teacher. Why did the teacher suddenly call you over? The teacher wanted to ask me which school I want to apply to, but I haven't decided yet. You have a double S. rank talent, Ling Feng said casually. You should be able to go to any of the top 10 schools. Su Ranran shook her head. You can't be proud just because of the talent test. There are still 3 months to go before the college entrance examination. Hearing Su Ranran's words, Ling Feng nodded his head. He had to admit that she was not only modest but also cautious. Although she was particularly good at being a teacher in front of him, with her character and talent, her future achievements were limitless. The form teacher on the podium knocked on the table. Quieten down. It was only then that the entire class retracted their thoughts. Everyone's eyes were focused on the form teacher. First of all, let's give Su Ranran a round of warm applause for awakening the SS. Rank talent, Thunderlord's Descent. Clap. 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 Thunderous applause rang out. Other than Su Ranran, let's give a round of applause to Fang Yuntian, who has awakened the A. Rank talent, Diamond Physique. The crowd applauded again. Other than these 2 students, look at your talents. What do you all have? He's the worst student I've ever taught. However, don't be disheartened and give up on yourselves. There are still many opportunities in the future. Even if your talents are low, as long as you work hard, you will have the opportunity to reach the top one day. Everyone, don't think that I'm comforting you or joking. In history, there are precedents. The most recent one is our country's sword. Immortal senior, Zhang Qinghai. He once had a B. Rank talent, sword mastery, and after several transformations, he became an SS. Rank sword intent godly talent, becoming the pillar of the country. Therefore, as long as you don't give up on yourself, your future will definitely be bright. Students who originally felt that their talent was low and that they had no hope at all were now as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Their blood was boiled, and they had already begun to fantasize about their own position in the world. Now that all of you have awakened your innate talents, it's time for you to start learning how to meditate, the form teacher continued. The meditation technique is not as complicated as you think. As long as a human has awakened their talent, they can learn it. However, distracting thoughts must be removed during meditation. Follow me. Close your eyes and visualize the world. Try your best to communicate with your awakened talent and absorb the countless bright spots that you're seeing now. This is the complete meditation technique. For those who had awakened their talents, practicing meditation techniques was an innate ability, and it was not complicated. Ling Feng had also closed his eyes at this moment. Everything was pitch black in front of him, but he was not in a hurry. He tried his best to communicate with his innate ability, and soon, countless small flashes of light appeared in the pitch-black world in front of him. After sensing the light spots, he immediately wanted to capture them. However, the light spots seemed to have a life of their own and were extremely cunning. Before he could even get close, the light spots had already avoided him. No matter how fast he was, the light spots would always be able to escape. This repeated countless times, but the situation did not change at all. The dot of light was right in front of him, but he could forget about catching it. Ling Feng could not help but feel a little frustrated after failing so many times. He opened his eyes helplessly and was surprised to find that most of his classmates were in the same situation as him. They all had difficult expressions on their faces, but there was one exception in this group, and that was his deskmate, Su Ranran. Not only did she not show any signs of frustration, but Ling Feng could also even see a smile on her relaxed face. Was this the benefit of talent? Su Ranran was very talented, so her cultivation was not as difficult as those who were less talented. Shaking his head helplessly, Ling Feng immediately closed his eyes again and began the second round of testing. This time, with his previous experience, he wouldn't attack immediately. Instead, he would use a strategy and ambush. As expected, not all of the light spots escaped, and he caught a part of them. After improving his attack method a few times, Ling Feng became more and more relaxed. However, his speed was still lacking, and after those light spots knew that Ling Feng could capture them, they all stayed far away and would not approach on their own initiative. However, as the light dot slowly captured him, Ling Feng clearly felt the changes in his body. Although it was only a slight change, it was a sign of becoming stronger. As long as he was on the path to becoming stronger, he would enjoy it and be fascinated. He was also immersed in the process of absorbing the light spots, and the pain gradually turned into enjoyment. An hour passed, and the form teacher's voice finally rang in his ears. "All right, you can all stop now." When the students heard this, they opened their eyes one by one, and their mouths naturally began to move. It's too difficult. Those spots of light are so cunning. Even if we try dozens of times, we might only succeed once. What's a few dozen times? I've tried hundreds of times. Only those with high talent will be favored by the light spots. With just the two of you, one with F.rank talent and one with C.rank talent, do you think you can succeed in one try? Hearing this, the people sitting in front and behind Fang Yuntian looked at him and asked about his situation. "Fang Yuntian, you have A.rank talent. How are you?" "Just 30 to 40 light spots. It's not worth mentioning." Although these words were very humble, Fang Yuntian's expression could not hide the pride on his face. He emphasized the word 30 to 40, but even so, Su Ranran still did not look at him. As he spoke to the people around him, his eyes would occasionally glance in her direction. Seeing Su Ranran chatting with Ling Feng, his mood became even worse. "Oh my God, I have A.B.rank talent, and I only absorbed 7 or 8. You, with your A.rank talent, actually absorbed 30 to 40. When the people beside him heard this, they immediately cried out in shock. They looked at Fang Yuntian with envy. The difference in talent was too great. "You already have 7 or 8, I only have 3. One hand isn't enough." Ling Feng sighed. "How was it? How many light spots did you absorb?" Su Ranran asked Ling Feng immediately. Ling Feng thought for a moment, then said, 40.3, I guess. Su Ranran was surprised. "Didn't you awaken A.B.rank talent?" she asked. "Why are there so many more than A.ranked?" She was very talented, so her teacher had already explained to her in advance that during her first cultivation, AB. Rank talent would usually only absorb 10 to 20 light spots. A. Level talents would have 20 to 45 light spots. If talent was calculated according to the absorption rate of the light spots, then Ling Feng's talent was definitely A. Rank, and it was the top. I don't know. Maybe I've been gifted since I was young, Ling Feng replied with a smile. In fact, the reason why he had absorbed more than Fang Yuntian was entirely because of his experience in the undead mystic realm. In addition to the system's upgrade, his talent was not B. rank, but B+. Under such a dual effect, Ling Feng's absorption rate of the light spots naturally became higher. How about you? Ling Feng asked. Su Ranran said nonchalantly, more than 300. What? He seemed to have heard wrong. More than 300 light spots. Yes. Su Ranran nodded and said with certainty. This time, Ling Feng became depressed. In his heart, he was constantly complaining that he had only absorbed 40 or so light spots, and he was secretly surprised. You absorbed more than 300, so much more than me. What are you surprised by? Ling Feng had to admit that at this moment, he was once again shocked by the matter of his talent. Seeing Ling Feng in this state, Su Ranran immediately consoled him. Although talent determines a person's starting point, the road ahead still requires more perseverance and perseverance. There are many geniuses that waste their talents, and even more who are not talented and rely on their own efforts to get to where they want to be. You have to believe that as long as you live and work hard, you will have different opportunities. As long as you're alive, there will be infinite possibilities. At this moment, Su Ranran's literature on positive energy was at stake. Ling Feng didn't want to pretend any longer, but he still nodded in agreement. As long as you're alive, there will be infinite possibilities. It is. Life is about creating infinite possibilities, even though the probability of a miracle happening is very, very small. Ling Feng couldn't help but complain in his heart when he heard those words. The probability of a miracle is so small. Why do you believe that I will be a miracle, and keep instilling positive energy into me and encouraging me? Could it be that you've met someone who changed your fate, and you still believe that I'll be the same as that person? Su Ranran was completely oblivious to Ling Feng's thoughts as she continued to pump him up with adrenaline. Ling Feng was already used to this. As long as this woman opened her mouth, she wouldn't stop until she was satisfied. Of course, Ling Feng wouldn't let the atmosphere turn cold. Whenever she was in high spirits, he would add a few words of agreement. In the corner, a pair of eyes filled with jealousy was staring at Ling Feng. It was as if he wanted to use his eyes to stare right through him. However, Ling Feng was completely unaware. But even if he knew, he wouldn't care. An A. rank talent, and one that was not even as good as a B. rank talent, was really hard to miss. Seeing that everyone had left the state of meditation, the teacher continued to explain some general knowledge of meditation. D and F. rank awakeners who are practicing meditation techniques for the first time can sense the light spots, but they are extremely difficult to capture. The low. Level talents in the class nodded heavily. They were exhausted. They saw it but couldn't catch it. It was too unbearable. Awakeners with C. rank talents can generally capture less than 10 light spots, awakeners with B. rank talents can capture between 10 to 20, A. rank talents can capture between 20 to 45, S. rank talents can capture between 45 to 90, and SS. rank talents can capture between 90 to 500. The teacher said. He observed the situation below. Talent was cruel. A slight difference would result in a huge gap. It wasn't impossible to cross over, but it would definitely require 1,000 times more effort than ordinary people. Of course, the situation I'm talking about is not absolute. This is only the number of light spots that most people can absorb during their first cultivation. In the future, when your strength matures, this theory will naturally be broken. Take the S. rank as an example. As you become more familiar with the technique, your limit will reach 100, while the SS. Rank will reach 1000. Therefore, the cultivation speed of awakeners with SS. Rank talents is 10 times faster than those with S. Rank talents. Everyone looked at each other and then at their own talents. They were filled with sadness. Why couldn't they be more talented? The F. Rank and D. Rank teachers didn't even introduce them. Alright, there's no point in talking. Everyone, focus on your cultivation. In 3 months, you will be tested on your talent and combat strength. That is the college entrance exam that you have been waiting for. Work hard, young people. Hearing this, the students began to feel nervous and excited. At this time, they could be considered to have truly stepped into the army of the college entrance examination and truly begun to prepare. School's out. Chapter 6. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. The campus bell accepted in advance by the top 10 famous schools. When class was over, Ling Feng didn't stay in school for long and went straight home. The house wasn't very big, and could even be considered simple and crude. It was only about 10 square meters, with the bathroom and bedroom completely divided, and no kitchen at all. After all, he was an orphan who had grown up in a welfare home. He had no parents and no income. It was already very difficult to just maintain their living expenses, but fortunately, they could receive a subsidy every month. This was exclusive to orphans, and cost only 300 star coins. However, it solved their urgent needs. Sitting on the only chair in the bedroom, Ling Feng was a little tired. He immediately raised his arm and turned on his watch, and a light screen appeared in front of him. This watch was given to them by the country for free. Every citizen living here had one. In some ways, it could be considered a high-end mobile phone. The most important thing was that it did not need to be charged. It could be fully charged by solar power. Otherwise, maintaining the power of the watch would be another expense. At this moment, a message popped up. You have a new message. Ling Feng clicked on it, and an email immediately popped up. He could check his mail. Congratulations, Ling Feng, for becoming a B. Rank metahuman. As your talent is B. Rank, 1000 star coins will be transferred to your account every month as a subsidy. This month's subsidy has been transferred, please check it. In 3 months, each university will conduct an admission assessment. Please be fully prepared and sign up for the university you like. I hope Ling Feng can be an eagle and soar in the sky to his heart's content. The message was official. Having said that, Ling Feng also understood that every awakened would receive a similar email with the same content after awakening. However, due to the different levels of talent seen by the awakened, the subsidies were different, and naturally, the contents were different. The higher the rank of the talent, the more the subsidy, and vice versa. No one dared to have any objections. After all, the entire human race was facing the danger of an invasion from other species. Those with higher talent levels would naturally rush to the front, and the human race was very united. In this era where everyone was awakened, even if an awakener did not do anything, they could barely make ends meet by relying on the subsidies given to them. However, if she wanted to live a better life, she would have to work hard. After all, no woman would be willing to marry someone who had nothing to do all day. Not to mention true love, he couldn't even afford to raise a child, so there was no need to mention anything else. Awakened ones had 2 sources of income. One of that was work, which was the source of income most people chose. Teachers in schools or civil servants in certain companies would choose this method because it was safe. After all, they didn't have to fight against the alien races. The only shortcoming was that their income wasn't high. However, this was enough to satisfy the lives of a small number of people. The other was to resist the alien races and accept some tasks, but they had to leave their homes and go to the wilderness, where they were unfamiliar. If they were not careful, they would die on the spot. However, this method had the highest income, but it was also the most dangerous. After all, the higher the risk, the higher the income. However, there would always be some awakened ones who liked to lick the blood off of their blades. It was also because of their existence that humans were able to stand firm in this chaotic world invaded by foreign races. Speaking of which, Ling Feng opened his bank balance and indeed had an extra 1,000 star coins. The officials probably wouldn't be short of such an amount. At the thought of this, Ling Feng couldn't help but smile and turn off his watch. Rumble. Ling Feng's stomach began to growl. With the allowance, there was no longer any need to be so calculative. Thus, he went downstairs to buy some food. However, because he had been poor before, he was not used to a rich life, even though he was not rich now. He just had a simple meal and went to bed. The next day, Ling Feng arrived at school early. Because of yesterday's incident, school today was even livelier. It's just a rumor. I heard that our school's beauty queen was actually accepted by one of the top 10 famous schools, Elemental College. With an SS.rank talent, it's reasonable that he's be accepted. You can't say that. The SS.rank metahuman from the second high school next door really wasn't recruited in advance. It must be because the school belle is more talented. When Ling Feng returned to class, he happened to hear these discussions and felt a little emotional. Some people were born to work hard, while some people were born to stand at the end of the former. It could be said that fate made a fool of people. Some people tried their best to get it, while others got it easily by stretching out their hands. For example, people like Su Ranran were the pride of the heavens that looked after her. However, the dangers and obstacles she would face in the future were not something that others could imagine. The greater the power, the greater the responsibility. If everything went smoothly, Su Ranran would be someone to be looked up to in the future. Ling Feng was also happy for Su Ranran for being admitted to the Elemental Academy in advance. His thoughts were simply rants, and he was not envious. With the system's assistance, was he still afraid that he would die halfway? Ling Feng's goal wasn't just this small piece of land but an even higher place. At this moment, the campus belle, Su Ranran, arrived at the classroom. Her face was as calm as an ice lake, allowing no one to approach her. When they saw her, the voices of the students who were discussing became softer. However, this was not the case in Ling Feng's eyes. He was somewhat helpless. Su Ranran plopped down on her seat and turned around to look at Ling Feng. The look of a teacher instantly appeared on her face. I'm telling you, don't be like them. You have to talk about it in the open. Only the weak would talk about it behind their backs. We have to be gentlemen. We have to be open and honest. Hearing this, Ling Feng's expression quickly turned into that of a good student as he nodded his head repeatedly. Yes, you're absolutely right. After spending so much time together, Ling Feng had gained the ability to hear things through one ear and out the other. Congratulations on being accepted by the Elemental Academy. Ling Feng changed the topic. Thank you, he said. He was not used to Su Ranran's reticence, but the teacher coughed from the podium and attracted the students' attention. Class is starting. 1,000 years ago, when the alien races invaded, animals evolved in order to survive. It's a good thing that we've started the era of national awakening. However, the powerhouses of the alien races are far ahead of us, and they're stronger than us, so our living space is constantly shrinking. After 1,000 years of hard work, the seniors of the human race used their blood to help us gain a firm foothold. However, compared to the blue planet 1,000 years ago. Back then, humans were the rulers of the blue planet, but that's not the case now. Humans only have 300 cities, occupying less than 1.10,000th of this world's surface. Those alien races and the monsters that evolved from animals occupy most of the area. I'm asking you, do you hate him? This is the tragedy of mankind. It's our shame. We can't do anything as we watch those monsters take over our homes. Therefore, I hope that everyone can work hard to cultivate and recover the lost land. I also hope to see that day. In addition, because of the invasion of the alien races, the blue planet has now become a transit point for the alien races. They can go to any of their bases through it. So, the blue planet has also become a place to fight for. There are too many otherworldly creatures in our world, but for some reason, those god-like strong people can't come in. For this history class, Ling Feng didn't pay much attention. He had already understood this from the original owner's memory, and his knowledge was even more detailed than the teacher's explanation. Thus, he didn't pay much attention. The blue planet had become a transit point, a place where alien races fought over. All kinds of alien races had invaded the blue planet, and although there were no gods interfering, the survival of mankind was still threatened. They might be able to sit here and listen to the class now, but it was possible that a war would break out in the next moment, and any city could be destroyed directly. A sense of crisis surrounded Ling Feng. He didn't like to be led by the nose, so he wanted to fight against the alien race and upgrade his talent level and combat strength as soon as possible. Only by becoming stronger would he be able to reduce the sense of danger in his heart. As the class was about to end, the teacher no longer told the students about the past. Instead, he smiled. "Oh, right. Class is ending soon, so I won't continue. I have an announcement to make. Congratulations, Su Ranran. Student Su has been admitted to one of the top 10 famous schools in advance, the Elemental Academy." After saying that, the teacher's smile grew even wider. Ling Feng's eyes unconsciously looked at Su Ranran, who was at the side. The densely packed notebooks, compared to his own, could be said to be very clean, without even a trace. Clap. 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 A loud round of applause ensued. Let's be quiet for a while. Now that everyone knows what kind of talent they have awakened, it's time to prepare for university. Every university has its own unique examination, and it corresponds to the talent of the person you're looking for. You must register as soon as possible and prepare well for the rest of the time. I recommend those students with A.rank talent to sign up for the top 100 schools and take a gamble. As for those students below A.rank, I won't make such a recommendation because it's really difficult. Also, you don't have to come to school anymore. In order not to take up your cultivation time and to prevent you from falling apart, we will hold a class meeting every week. Other than that, you will be free to cultivate. Class dismissed. After that, the teacher called Su Ranran and left with her. The class was very lively because they would be free from now on. However, there was also a group of people who were worried about their future. However, Ling Feng didn't join them. He just sat there silently, absent-minded, no different from usual. Since the teacher had called Su Ranran out, he finally had some peace and quiet. A few hours later, the school bell rang. Chapter 7. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Breaking through to first rank of combat strength from now on, he no longer had to come to school every day. Apart from the class meeting on Monday, Ling Feng was also much more relaxed. However, there might be something important in the school. If that were the case, he would still have to come to school. If it weren't something particularly important, the teacher would only inform them in the group. This was the usual practice so that everyone could put more time into cultivation. After all, with the invasion of the alien races, those cultural classes were no longer that important. He could basically pass all of them. The most important thing was his own combat power and talent. Moreover, during the 2 years when his talent was awakened, he had learned all the knowledge he needed. Now that he had awakened his talent, cultivation was his top priority. This was good news for Ling Feng. He could finally start to improve himself. Only by improving himself could he live a better life. No one knew what would happen in the future. Therefore, he decided to go out of the city to hunt the alien races. After leaving the school, Ling Feng headed straight for the city gate. Not long after, he saw the tall city walls and city gate of the fantasy city. It looked a little old, but it was these old walls that had protected the illusory city for hundreds of years. There weren't any guards at the city gate either, as the entire city was controlled by a high-tech central AI. Some people might think that it wasn't very safe, but that wasn't the case. Some people had tried to force their way in, but they were turned into ashes by high-energy rays of light and drifted away with the wind. If they encountered a strong enemy that even the city wall could not deal with, then this news would quickly reach the city guard stationed not far away. They would quickly move out and suppress the strong enemy. These were the security measures of the illusory city. Ling Feng walked to the front of the city gate and took out his student card. The city gate automatically shot out a scanning ray. After passing through the student card, a beep was heard. Identity normal. Ling Feng, a student at the 3rd High School of Fantasy City. Destination: hunt and kill alien races. Ling Feng's tone was calm. You have passed. You can leave the city now. Gentle reminder. Be careful. Be sure to return to the city before nighttime. After that, a passage appeared in the middle of the city gate, allowing only one person to enter and exit. Ling Feng walked out. The city walls were very thick, and after walking for a while, the wilderness came into his view. Rather than calling it the wilderness, it was more like a desolate plain. There was not even a blade of grass, let alone a tree. However, Ling Feng was well aware of this situation because some of the alien races would hide in the grass. In addition, the wilderness was extremely dangerous. If there were overgrown weeds, the danger factor would rise sharply because it would block part of the vision. Therefore, some of them would come to the outskirts of Fantasy City regularly to weed. The location of the illusory city was not bad. On one side was a mountain, and on the other side was a river. Ling Feng's destination this time was the Undead Valley, 10 miles to the west. Compared to other places, the monsters there weren't particularly strong, and Ling Feng could deal with them now. Because his combat strength had been increased once before, he had good speed. In a short while, he arrived at Undead Valley. Ling Feng looked at this place, and a smile appeared on his face. Undead Valley. This place was surrounded by mountains, and it was extremely dark. Sunlight couldn't shine in, which led to the breeding of countless undead. The former landscape could be said to be filled with birds chirping and flowers. However, due to the invasion of the foreign races, the death energy poured out, and because of geographical reasons, it created a death fog that never dispersed. Fortunately, the death energy wasn't very dense, so the creatures here weren't very strong. Otherwise, Ling Feng wouldn't have dared to come alone. It was only slightly better than the wall of the undead mystic realm at school. Thinking of this, Ling Feng turned his gaze to a big rock not far away. Then, he hid behind it and released his clone. A white light flashed, and 2 Ling Fengs appeared in front of him. I'll leave it to you, brothers. The 2 clones were expressionless as they nodded. They picked up the 2 bone knives and walked away. Meanwhile, Ling Feng was sitting there, sharing the vision of his clone. He saw that they had stopped there and were not walking toward the depths of the Undead Valley. Instead, they were pacing back and forth. He was also very careful with his steps, only attacking the undead that was left behind. At this moment, a single undead appeared in their line of sight. The first pretended to swagger around to attract the skeleton mage's attention, while the second one quickly hid and slowly walked toward the skeleton mage. A skeletal mage raised its scepter high, and just as it was chanting, number 2 held a bone blade and ruthlessly struck the skeletal mage's head. The skeletal head slowly turned around, as if it was wondering why there were 2 identical people. Unfortunately, number 2's combat power was not very strong, and he did not kill the skeleton mage with 1 strike. However, it also caused the skeleton mage to be momentarily dazed. It was at this moment that number 1 quickly raised his bone blade and slashed at the skeleton mage's neck. The sound of bones breaking was heard. The skeleton mage's head rolled onto the ground, but the soul fire in the skull was still burning. When the two clones saw this, they raised their bone sabers and ruthlessly hacked at the skulls on the ground until they turned into ashes and their soul flames were extinguished. Only then did they stop. Ling Feng's mind also rang with a notification. You have successfully killed a skeleton mage, level points +2. The massacre had just begun, and Ling Feng wasn't about to give up so easily. Thus, he gave his clone a big order. Continue to kill. The clone nodded slowly and then cooperated with him. Once they found a single undead, number 1 would attract its attention, while number 2 would take the opportunity to launch a sneak attack. Taking advantage of that gap, he would attack from the front and back, using the bone knife to cut off the head, and finally work together to treat it as ashes, extinguish the soul fire, and get the upgrade points. The corners of his mouth twitched. This was simply too skilled, as if he had simulated it thousands of times. At the same time, Ling Feng was also very surprised to see that his clones didn't always use this method, but more like drawing inferences from one case. Thinking of this, Ling Feng suddenly had a thought. Could it be that this clone could also learn? If that were the case, then it would be great. Since my clone can learn and share my combat experience, does that mean I can share my experience with it? After the two clones killed another undead, Ling Feng summoned it back. Share your combat experience with me. Ling Feng's tone was very excited. Clone number 1 was speechless. The second clone was speechless. The host's talent level is too low. He doesn't have this ability. The system's voice rang in Ling Feng's mind. Ling Feng was a little disappointed, but he quickly felt relieved. In that case, when he reached a rank, would he be able to share his combat experience? By then, he would be lying in bed with his own people, and his experience would skyrocket. It felt good just thinking about it. Could it be that when my talent reaches a rank, I'll be able to share the experience? Ling Feng wanted to confirm his thoughts. Yes, you can. Hearing this, Ling Feng was very excited. He quickly let his two doppelgangers continue to kill monsters and quickly obtain leveling points. This way, he would be able to mess up as soon as possible. You have successfully killed a skeleton mage, level points +2. You have successfully killed a skeleton warrior, level points +2. The system continued to prompt Ling Feng, and soon, 3 hours had passed. Ling Feng had already killed more than 100 undead, and he had gained about 300 points. But even so, it was still a drop in the bucket. As the saying goes, wealth comes from danger. Ling Feng ordered his clones to go deep into Undead Valley. Just a little deeper, they encountered stronger dead souls. These skeletal monsters were pitch black. Even though there was no sunlight, their bodies still reflected and gleamed. Ling Feng knew that these were all black iron skeleton warriors. However, even the silver tier skeletal warriors were no match for Ling Feng. The black tier skeletal warriors were not worthy of his attention. However, the two clones didn't think so. It was still the sixth brother's actions, completely pressing the intelligence of the black iron skeleton warrior to the ground and rubbing it. Even if he wasn't afraid of a head on confrontation, it didn't stop him from pushing his limits. Number 1 attracted the black iron skeleton warrior's attention, and number 2 took the opportunity to use his bone blade to ruthlessly slash at its head. The skeletal warrior stood there in a daze as if it had been beaten silly. The weapon in its hand fell to the ground, but number 1 didn't think so. Another blade was ruthlessly swung over. The skull fell to the ground, and the soul fire dissipated. However, the two clones still held the bone blade and ruthlessly whipped the skull. From start to finish, it only took a few dozen seconds. From this, it could be seen that the clone was extremely stable, accurate, and ruthless. Not only that, but as the number of undead that the clones killed increased, their skills also improved significantly. Obviously, not only could the clone share experience, but it could also grow. You have successfully killed a black iron skeleton warrior, level points +4. You have successfully killed a black iron skeleton mage, level points +4. The undead constantly provided Ling Feng with leveling points. All he needed to do was hide behind a rock and wait for his clone to die before summoning another one. Although there could only be 2 clones at one time, the next clone would still inherit the experience and abilities of the previous one. This was an advantage he relied on. The clone was a killing machine, the kind that got stronger the more it killed. The sky was getting dark, and Ling Feng had accumulated 1000 upgrade points. I should be able to increase my combat level this time, right? He was a little excited. Consume 900 upgrade points to upgrade the combat level. Do you want to upgrade? Let's level up. Ling Feng had been waiting for this moment for a long time. A day of endless killing to save up these upgrade points, wasn't it all for the sake of becoming stronger? Combat level is upgrading, hum hum hum. Instantly, with Ling Feng as the center, within a meter of his body, a golden light appeared. But fortunately, Ling Feng was very well hidden at this time. A warm current seemed to appear out of thin air and flowed through his entire body. That comfortable feeling almost made him moan out loud. He could only feel the cells in his body crazily absorbing that warm current, and the pleasure was getting stronger and stronger until he was unable to control himself. Arg! It's so good. As soon as he finished speaking, the comfortable feeling stopped abruptly, and the golden light dissipated. Upgrade successful. Your current combat strength is at the beginning of stage 1. I haven't had enough yet. Why are you so fast? Ling Feng stopped grumbling when the system stopped moving. No matter what, he had gained an advantage. After all, he had only used 1 day to enter the first stage of combat power. If it were someone else, not to mention talent, even if they were as talented as Ling Feng, they would need at least 3 months of cultivation time. As for himself, he had only spent 2 days in total. However, it was hard to tell who was faster when compared to Su Ranran. After all, the latter had an SS.rank talent. Ling Feng stood up and clenched his fists, feeling the tier 1 combat strength in his body. His eyes were burning. Is this the combat strength of a tier 1? It's so strong. At the same time, news came from the clone that had gone deep into the Undead Valley. He had found a cave. Ling Feng's eyes lit up, and he said excitedly, I can try out my current stage 1 combat strength. Chapter 8 You are listening at novelfull.audio. Seriously injured. I'm the 6th. Ling Feng looked into the cave not far away but did not go in. Instead, he stood at the entrance and observed. The hole wasn't very big, but it was surrounded by gravel. Common sense denotes that this kind of cave should be occupied by powerful monsters. Why don't I let my clone go in and explore first? It was indeed possible. After all, the death of the clone would not cause any losses. If the monster was powerful, he could retreat safely. If they were weak, he could follow up in time and kill them. Then, the 2 clones walked in one after the other, extremely cautious. Ling Feng hid in the distance, using the vision of his avatar to clearly see the landscape inside the cave. This should be a mine cave because the stone walls of the cave were full of slash marks. From this, it could be seen that someone had once mined here, but the walls were covered with thick cobwebs. It seemed that no one had been here for a long time. The 2 clones cautiously walked into the cave. The deeper they went, the wider the cave became. Ling Feng significantly raised his guard. He carefully observed the changes in his surroundings. Even if it was just a clone, since he had entered this cave, he had to obtain some information. Suddenly, an ear-piercing squeak entered Ling Feng's ears. Because he had a premonition, the 2 clones quickly gathered together and went into a defensive state. It stuck close to the stone wall. Thump, 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 thump. A series of violent footsteps could be heard, sometimes near and sometimes far. Hearing this sound, Ling Feng's heart unconsciously tightened, his eyes staring into the distance. The sound of the footsteps became clear. Then, a pair of scarlet eyes appeared in Ling Feng's line of sight, as if they had appeared out of thin air. Then, in the darkness, the monster's figure also appeared. However, when Ling Feng saw the monster's appearance, he took a deep breath. A white gold skeleton, holding a huge battle uniform, and a monster with scarlet eyes appeared in front of him. Platinum Skeleton Warrior. Damn it, why would there be Platinum Skeleton Warriors here, much less one was comparable to a Tier 2 combatant. Ling Feng knew that in the Undead Valley, the strongest was only at Stage 2. However, he didn't expect to be so unlucky to encounter a Platinum Skeleton Warrior before he even entered the depths of the Undead Valley. Fortunately, he had sent his clone to scout the way, or he would have died on the spot. Even if Ling Feng was invincible among his peers, he was still no match for the Platinum Skeleton Warrior. Escape. Ling Feng's mind only had this one thought. After the clone received the order, it surprisingly did not carry it out. Instead, it was stunned for a moment, and its eyes were filled with the desire to fight. However, the next moment, it quickly ran out. His desire to fight had also disappeared. At the same time, Ling Feng also left the cave and ran out of the Undead Valley. However, the Platinum Skeleton Warrior was not a pushover. It was about to be robbed, so it naturally would not hold back. It held its huge battle axe in one hand and slashed at number 1. At this moment, the system's warning tone rang out. Do you want to spend 5 level points to investigate the enemy's attributes? Do it. Ling Feng was overjoyed. The 5 points disappeared, and the Platinum Skeleton Warrior's attribute panel appeared in front of him. Combat Strength. Beginner Stage of Rank 2. Skills. Energy Slash, Whirlwind Axe. Note. Seriously injured, with less than 10% of his combat power left, it is recommended that the host kill him. 3 exclamation marks in a row made Ling Feng's heart skip a beat. In addition, this undead only had 2 skills and was heavily injured. Not to mention, his clone was already entangled with it. It was impossible to exit safely, so it was better to fight with his back to the wall. The worst outcome would be losing 2 clones, right? Ling Feng gritted his teeth and gave the order to attack. After receiving the order, the clone's desire to fight was once again revealed in his eyes. Number 1 quickly dodged the axe and retreated to the side of number 2. The clone naturally felt that the place was troublesome, so he did not use the Sixth Brother's fighting style. Instead, he began to get serious. Their coordination was extremely good. Number 2 held his bone knife and charged forward as if he wanted to attract attention so that number 2 would have a chance to attack. It looked like it was the same as before, but what happened next shocked Ling Feng. The Platinum Skeleton Warrior gently raised its battle axe and blocked number 2's bone blade. Number 2's bone blade did not slash at the Platinum Skeletal Warrior. Instead, his suddenly glowed with a blue light, and a blue slash flew out from his palm. It was so fast that the monster didn't even have time to react before it was hit on its calf. Crack. Then, the monster's calf bone cracked and fell to the ground. Seeing this scene, Ling Feng was at a loss. Number 2's attack was clearly an energy slash. However, how did he learn this energy slash? As far as he knew, a B.rank talent clone could not inherit the original skills at all. Only when the talent evolved to A.rank could it be inherited. Moreover, he would inherit one of the skills at random. Because of this, the cloning talent was not used in combat. Although they had the advantage of numbers, they had always been used for reconnaissance. However, Ling Feng's doppelganger was actually able to learn a skill before reaching A.rank. This really shocked him to the core. At this moment, number 2 launched another energy slash, once again hitting the monster's lower leg. There was another crack. After losing its calf bone, the monster could no longer stand steadily. It fell to one knee with a plop. Seeing this, number 1 didn't hesitate. This was a rare opportunity. He gave up on any defense and held his bone blade tightly. He glared at its neck. There were even sparks from the collision. The monster was not in a good state either. It roared loudly and even ignored its legs. It picked up the battle axe and began to swing it. Tornado slash. The whirlwind created by the battle.ax sucked number 1 toward it. In addition, he did not have any defensive actions at the moment, so he did not have time to dodge and was cut by the battle axe. Without any warning, number 1 turned into specks of starlight and disappeared. Seeing this, number 2 was also enraged. The monster had stopped its tornado slash, as if it was on cooldown. Number 2 roared, and an energy slash appeared in his palm. It flew towards the monster's other leg, and with a crack, the monster's other leg was also broken. It immediately knelt on the ground, but at this time, an azure energy slash also appeared in the monster's hand. Compared to Ling Fang's, it could be said to be much purer. Number 2 didn't have time to dodge and turned into specks of starlight before dissipating. The Platinum Skeleton Warrior also took this opportunity to look for the leg bone on the ground, as if it wanted to reattach it. At the same time, Ling Feng, who was outside the cave, revealed a sneer. A white light flashed, and the Ling Fengs, with cold expressions, appeared in front of him. Let's take revenge. Then, the clone turned around and ran into the cave. The monster was installing its leg and was confused when it saw the 2 humans it had just killed. Because it was a second-rank undead, its intelligence was slightly higher than the average undead. It did not understand why the 2 people it had just killed would still appear in front of it alive. However, the monster still stood up. Although its calf bone was not very suitable for the battle, it did not have to fight on its knees. After the clone had experienced a battle, especially a life and death battle, its experience could be said to have multiplied. Even if the opponent was a stage 2, it was still at ease. After all, the monster's calf bone was not suitable for walking, so it was a little clumsy. Speed was also one of its weaknesses. The extreme pulling appeared again. It fled, and he chased. It couldn't escape even if it had wings. He chased, and it fled, but it was helpless. After being dragged for a while, the Platinum Skeletal Warrior was about to fall apart, and its calf bone had been shot down somewhere. Even its head, which was carrying the soul fire, was shaking. Seeing this, the clone stopped pulling. An energy slash appeared in number 2's palm and quickly flew toward his neck. Number 1 followed closely behind. The 2 energy slashes hit the neck of the Platinum Skeleton Warrior, and it was unable to block them. Thump. The head fell to the ground, and the soul fire was shaking. The clone immediately walked forward and picked up the bone stick at the side. The head was smashed, and the soul fire also dissipated. You have successfully killed a Platinum Skeleton Warrior, level points plus 100. At this moment, a crystal that had fallen to the ground attracted Ling Feng's attention. Number 1 picked it up. Unfortunately, it was another energy slash crystal, so he could only sell it for money. Looking at the time, it was already past 5 in the evening. The sky was beginning to get dark, and he couldn't stay in the wilderness for long. Thus, he called back his clones and prepared to return to the city. Chapter 9. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. What qualifications do you have? It was a smooth journey back to the city. They did not encounter any bad things at all, which confused Ling Feng a little. In his memory, every protagonist would more or less encounter some trouble when they went out. He didn't understand why it was so smooth sailing for him. Am I not the main character? No way. But I have the system. Ling Feng was a little puzzled and a little dissatisfied. But after thinking about it carefully, who would complain about not having enough trouble? Returning safely was the best. It was true that he was the protagonist, but he had not yet developed. Compared to those crooked-mouthed dragon kings, he was not even worth mentioning. On the way, he also met many pedestrians who were also out to hunt alien races. Some of them were in groups of 2 or 3, and some were alone like him. However, the similarity was that the distance between each team was very far, or rather, very safe. No one took the initiative to make friends with strangers, as if they were on guard against something. This was because it was Ling Feng's first time hunting alien races, and there were many things he did not understand. Therefore, he learned from this group of people and was extremely vigilant. He also focused on his innate ability to ensure that if anything happened, he would be able to act at the first moment. Ling Feng only took a little more than 10 minutes to get there, but it took him half an hour to go back. Most of the time was spent on defense. He only relaxed when the huge city wall came into his sight. He was finally back. They entered the city gate in an orderly manner and took out their student cards. After being scanned by the city gate, a beeping could be heard. You've passed the test. Welcome home, Ling Feng, student of the 3rd high school. Immediately after, a passage that could only fit one person appeared, and Ling Feng walked in. After entering the fantasy city, Ling Feng was just about to leave when he heard a series of footsteps. Out of curiosity, he turned back to take a look. It was a group of students around his age. Compared to Ling Feng, they were more tired, as if they had just gone through some bloody battle. However, after they entered the fantasy city, their faces relaxed. A few even leaped around and looked very happy. Then, Ling Feng turned his head around. They were just a bunch of students, nothing worth his attention. However, Ling Feng shook his head. Was it really that tiring to hunt alien races? Ling Feng walked in the direction of his home, and his stomach began to growl. He changed his direction and took another path. Just as he reached the square in the city center, a voice called out to him. Hearing this voice, Ling Feng felt a sense of familiarity. He stopped and turned around to look for the source of the voice. Ling Feng. Hey! Ling Feng. Su Ranran was waving her right hand high in the air, her face full of excitement. Seeing that it was Su Ranran, Ling Feng smiled helplessly, then walked in her direction. As soon as he arrived in front of her, a young man of similar age appeared behind her. Perhaps he had heard her movements. He turned around and walked over. Ling Feng looked at him suspiciously, then asked Su Ranran, who is this? Su Ranran's expression quickly turned cold. She glanced at the man and said indifferently, classmate. Hearing her tone, the man almost couldn't hold back the anger in his heart. However, he held it in and extended his hand to Ling Feng. Hello, I'm Li Feng. S.Rank Storm. Nice to meet you. What about you? Li Feng had a smile on his face, but Ling Feng could feel his malice towards him. He couldn't help but feel a little puzzled. I haven't even done anything yet, why are you targeting me? However, after thinking about it carefully, he felt at ease. Sigh, after all, I'm the main character. As the main character, there will always be some small troubles. However, when Ling Feng saw Li Feng's arrogant look, he was speechless. He replied perfunctorily, Ling Feng, B.Rank clone. After Li Feng heard Ling Feng's talent grade, he heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. It turned out that it was only a B.Rank talent. After he was done, he even inadvertently glanced at Su Ranran beside him. He realized that she was not paying attention to him, even though he was much more talented than Ling Feng. This disappointed him a little. In fact, he didn't have much interaction with Su Ranran. He had only come out this time to stroll around. However, since he had run into her, it meant that there was fate between the two. He had wanted to invite Su Ranran to dinner and make friends with her, but he didn't expect her to keep a cold face and keep a distance from him. Li Feng felt a little helpless. Even though his S.rank talent was not as good as Su Ranran's SS.rank, he was still one of the top students in school. It would be a lie to say that he just wanted to make friends with the girl, who was both talented and beautiful. After all, she was such an outstanding girl. Any boy would have other thoughts. After all, Su Ranran was currently the most dazzling pearl in the entire third year of high school. She had even been recruited in advance by Elemental Academy, one of the top 10 colleges. It wasn't an exaggeration to call her a proud daughter of the heavens. Such a girl. How could he not be moved? In addition, Li Fong also had an S.rank talent, which was not much worse than Su Ranran's. In the future, if he were lucky, his talent might directly transform into an SS.rank talent when he improved his combat power. Then, wouldn't he and Su Ranran be a match of equal status? There was simply no comparison to Ling Fong. He was only a B.rank talent, yet he wanted to climb up Su Ranran's social ladder. Even if he was lucky, could he transform several times in a row? That was simply unbelievable. Therefore, when Li Fong heard that Ling Fong only had a B.rank talent, he no longer viewed Ling Fong as an enemy. With different talents, they were naturally not the same. He and Su Ranran were destined to be on the same side, but Ling Fong and Su Ranran were not. Once they entered university, they would be people from two different worlds. Hello, Student Ling. If you have any difficulties in the future, you can just ask me. I dare not say this in other places, but in the 3 high schools, I still have some face. Li Fong looked at Ling Fong with a smile and said indifferently. Ling Fong, on the other hand, did not seem to care and did not reply. At the non-reply, Li Fong continued, by the way, you awakened a doppelganger, right? Your talent is a little low, but don't be discouraged. Clones are suitable for reconnaissance. Do you want to work for me? I'm sorry, I don't have such thoughts yet. Ling Fong shook his head. Do you want to work for me? Su Ranran tilted her head and looked at Ling Fong. Ling Fong was a little surprised, but he still shook his head slightly, indicating that he would not go. Seeing this, Su Ranran also looked at Li Fong, a rare smile appearing on her cold face. Did you hear that? Even I can't let him work for me. You're just an S.rank talent. What qualifications do you have for asking Ling Fong to work for you? Li Fong naturally understood the meaning behind Su Ranran's words. However, he tried his best to suppress his anger and smiled. I was just joking. Ha, don't mind it. It's getting late. Why don't we go for a meal? I'm sorry, it's so late. My family is urging me to go home for dinner. Ling Fong casually found an excuse and brushed it off. Su Ranran looked at Ling Fong in surprise and immediately said, you can go by yourself. We're going home. Li Fong didn't want to give up. He invited them again but was still rejected. In the end, the two of them simply said goodbye. Ling Fong and Su Ranran left in unison, leaving Li Fong standing there in a daze. When he regained his senses, he wanted to chase after them, but the two of them were nowhere to be seen. He couldn't help but be a little surprised. The speed was simply too fast. In just a short while, he had already disappeared. Li Fong felt helpless. He stood on the spot and looked in the direction that the two of them left. However, he couldn't see their shadows. His face turned red as he engraved Ling Feng's name in his heart. Ling Fong. You're so close to Su Ranran. You must investigate. At that moment, Ling Fong and Su Ranran were walking side by side under the streetlight. I didn't expect you to be so brave. Aren't you afraid that he'll take revenge on you? Under the streetlight, Su Ranran's smile was particularly charming. However, Ling Fong did not mind. Don't I still have you? If he wants to take revenge on me, will you just stand by and watch? Hearing this, Su Ranran laughed. Of course, I won't just stand by and watch. If he dares to do anything to you, I'll beat him up until he kneels in front of you and sings conquered. Then I'll have to rely on you. If I get bullied, you'll be the one losing face. Don't worry, I'll protect you. Su Ranran pouted and said fiercely and raised her right hand, and lightning constantly flickered on her petite fist. However, in Ling Feng's eyes, it was very cute. But you can't give up on yourself, you know. You have to believe in yourself. Your hard work will definitely pay off. Think about Senior Sword Immortal. Isn't he the best example? Su Ranran had once again activated the soul of a good teacher. Ling Feng was a little helpless, but he still nodded his head madly in agreement. He did not dare to express his opinion. Afraid that she might have said something wrong, Su Ranran would teach him more. If that happened, he wouldn't have to go home today. He would just have to listen to Su Ranran's teachings. Did you know? You must cultivate well and remember that the good comes after the bad. Yeah. I'll remember it. Alright, it's getting late. See ya. See ya. Chapter 10. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Transformed into a rich man the next morning, Ling Feng simply washed his face and rinsed his mouth after he woke up. Just as he was about to leave, he remembered the skill crystal he had obtained yesterday. He put the crystal on his body and ran downstairs. After looking around, he came to another street, and a public phone booth entered Ling Feng's line of sight. He ran over and took out a business card. This was the business card that Li Tian had given him a few days ago after he left the undead mystic realm. Ling Feng dialed the number on the card. Then, the phone beeped. After the dial tone, the call was connected, and a cold voice came from the other side. Who is it? I have a skill crystal here. Ling Feng did not reveal his identity. He chose to act cautiously. After all, there was no harm in being cautious. Upon hearing this, the other party's tone instantly changed. He said excitedly, I don't care how much it costs, I'm taking it. Hearing Li Tian's tone, Ling Feng was a little confused. He knew how precious the skill crystal was, but he didn't expect that even a rich second generation like Li Tian would be so attracted to the skill crystal. He could feel the other party's excitement from the phone call. Skills could be learned from the skill crystal, although the learned skills were not like awakened talents, which would become stronger with the increase of combat power. However, this skill was a blessing for low-level talents. They didn't have the talent of high-level talents, so they could only rely on their skills. You can try to think about it. When you encounter a battle, the other party has many advanced skills, but you only have an innate skill. The battle would start at the first touch. The opponent would throw out all kinds of skills, but you only had one. The outcome was obvious. However, the drop rate of skill crystals was extremely low. In addition, they were consumables, so once they appeared, they would be bought instantly. Not only that, but in the entire market, skill crystals were also very well preserved products, even more so than star coins. If you collected a house full of skill crystals, when you encountered a crisis, none of them would be as valuable as these crystals, no matter what star currency or real estate. You could even create an armed group with these. However, if you wanted to buy a skill crystal, it could be said to be extremely difficult. Most people would actually use the skill themselves after obtaining it. After all, this was the result of a life-and-death battle, and there was also a part of luck in it. There were also some who wanted to sell them for money, but they would sell them to regular shops. If the rich second generation wanted to buy them, they could only buy them at a higher price. Star dollars were not omnipotent. Most of the time, skill crystals were priceless. Even though Li Tian was a rich kid, he had many brothers and sisters who were his hidden opponents. Moreover, Li Tian's talent was only D. rank. Naturally, he was not valued by his family. Therefore, if he wanted to obtain skill crystals, he could only do so through informal channels. He could come into contact with formal channels, but he could not buy them because he did not have financial support. Ling Feng had never come into contact with such things, so he didn't know much. Even Li Tian, a rich second-generation heir, valued the skill crystal so much, let alone Ling Feng, an orphan with only 4 walls. However, Ling Feng's luck was very good. After killing 2 monsters, 2 energy crystals were dropped. If others knew about this, they would definitely be envious of Ling Feng. Aren't you going to ask what type of skill crystal it is? Ling Feng asked in confusion. Since you've come to me, the skill crystal must not be a high-grade item. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to afford it. Moreover, I understand the value of the skill crystal. I think it's worth it, no matter how much it costs. Hearing this, Ling Feng couldn't help but look at Li Tian in a higher light. At the same time, the value of the skill crystal in his heart increased by another notch. In that case, name your price, Ling Feng said indifferently. 300,000. Li Tian replied without any hesitation. However, Ling Feng fell into deep thought. It wasn't that he felt that the money was too little, but that it was too much. 300,000 star coins was enough to buy a house in the fantasy city. The average person in this city only earned 3,000 star coins a month. However, a skill crystal like this could actually be sold for 300,000 yuan. Ling Feng's breathing became a little rushed. Just as he was about to agree, he was interrupted by Li Tian on the other end of the phone. He seemed to think that Ling Feng was not satisfied with the price and continued, the market price is 300,000, but skill crystals have always been in demand but not in the market. How about 500,000? This is the highest I can offer. If I go any higher, I won't be able to take out so much cash in a short time. Ling Feng calmed his breathing and said slowly, deal. Hearing this, Li Tian heaved a sigh of relief and laughed, haha, that's great. I'm definitely befriending you, are you free now? I'll go find you. Ling Feng looked at the buildings around him, and a coffee shop came into view. He then told Li Tian the name of the coffee shop. Li Tian quickly left and hung up the phone. After hanging up the phone, Ling Feng's heart was still pounding. That was 500,000 yuan they were talking about. Ordinary people had to work hard for 17 to 18 years and not eat or drink to earn that much money. He had only sold a skill crystal. 500,000 was in his hands. Ednel. Oh no, to him, this 500,000 yuan could also be very dangerous. If he wanted to leave the city to hunt the foreign kinds, his life would be in danger. Therefore, he had exchanged his life for this 500,000. He had to lick his blood to get this. Thinking of this, Ling Feng could not help but understand one thing. No wonder so many people were willing to risk their lives to go out of the city to hunt for alien races. It was because they could make money quickly. Ling Feng calmed his emotions down, then summoned a clone and put a hat and mask on it. From the outside, it was impossible to associate it with him. Only then did he feel at ease and let his clone head to the cafe. As soon as Ling Feng's clone entered the coffee shop, Li Tian followed closely behind. Because of his disguise, Ling Feng's clone was very conspicuous. As soon as Li Tian entered, he noticed the clone and walked over. However, he was not surprised at all. After all, this was not a small business. It was reasonable for Ling Feng to be so cautious. He walked to the clone respectfully and said in a low voice, "Is it you?" The clone nodded and took out the skill crystal. After seeing the crystal, Li Tian suppressed the excitement in his heart and said, "Can I have a look first?" However, the clone didn't say anything. He just turned his head to Li Tian and stared at him silently. Perhaps Li Tian realized that he was a little too anxious, and he quickly said, "How about this, I'll pay first." Cash. The clone's tone was calm, without a trace of emotion. "Don't worry, it's definitely cash. Li Tian was quite familiar with this kind of transaction because they didn't know each other. Cash transactions were safer and wouldn't leave any traces. Then, Li Tian placed his bag on the table and took out the cash. The clone counted the money and found nothing missing. It put the money into its pocket and handed the skill crystal to Li Tian. Li Tian's face was filled with joy as he took the skill crystal. He quickly placed the crystal in his palm and felt it for a while before releasing it. So it's an energy slash. I didn't lose out. By the time Li Tian came back to his senses, his clone had already left. As he watched Li Tian leave, he suddenly remembered something and picked up his phone to check. Is it a public phone? He's really cautious. This is getting interesting. At this moment, Ling Feng had already returned home with his backpack. Looking at the money on the table, his mouth curved into a crooked smile, like the crooked-mouthed Dragon King. I'm a rich man now. I must have a good meal. With this thought in mind, Ling Feng took the money and went downstairs. He found the nearest restaurant and walked over. He had never been to a restaurant before, let alone this restaurant. However, he did not feel uncomfortable at all when he suddenly came to this luxurious restaurant. This was because Ling Feng's predecessor had never been to such a place. In his previous life, he could be said to be a regular customer of high-end restaurants. He called the waiter over, and very quickly, a table full of delicacies was placed in front of Ling Feng. The waiter also left the place, while Ling Feng directly touched the seal. Delicious. It's interesting. This meat is firm and it's so nice to chew. It seems to be the meat of a mutated beast. It's much more delicious than the food on Earth. And I feel warm all over after eating it. It's so comfortable. As Ling Feng was already a first-order awakened, his appetite had increased by a lot, almost 10 times as much as before. So even if the table of dishes looked like a lot, it was all eaten by Ling Feng alone. Burp. That was good. Waiter, bill, please. Immediately after, a waiter walked up with an account book in his hand. The total amount was 1,530 star coins. There was a discount, so the waiter respectfully said, "Hello, sir, the total cost is 1,500 coins." Ling Feng did not hesitate at all. With a wave of his hand, he paid 1,500 star dollars. One must know that this was half a month's salary for an ordinary person, yet Ling Feng only managed to have one meal. The waitress looked at Ling Feng's back as he left. Her eyes were filled with envy, but she didn't dare to say anything. She knew that Ling Feng was not someone she could match up to. It had to be said that rich people were happy, and it was unimaginable happiness. On the way back, Ling Feng bought a few more clothes. After all, it had been a long time since he bought new clothes. At this moment, an equipment store by the road attracted Ling Feng's attention. The store was filled with all kinds of equipment. He stopped and walked towards the equipment store. The boss was originally lowering his head to settle the bill, but when he noticed Ling Feng standing in front of him, he raised his head and asked enthusiastically, "Young man, do you have anything you want? Come in and take a look." Hearing these words, Ling Feng subconsciously wanted to leave. But after thinking about it carefully, he was now a rich man, what was there to be afraid of? Then, he walked into the store with his head held high. "Boss, what kind of equipment do you have?" The boss was an old man with a white beard and white skin. With an eye-catching buzz cut and about 1.8 meters tall, he was also very burly. If one were to look at his back up close, one would not be able to imagine that he was an old man. He was more like a pine tree standing on the edge of a cliff. Seeing this, Ling Feng subconsciously took a few more glances at the old man. He didn't seem like an ordinary person.